What's up, guys? Welcome to today's show. And we are talking about finding clarity through taking action. Now, this is an important topic because if you're anything like me, you've probably struggled to find clarity at some point in your life, either with what to do with your life or even just with what to do next when it comes to achieving your dreams. Now, many of our coaching clients know that they're made for more. They're made for a bigger purpose and a bigger calling. They want to do more, they want to be more. Yet many either don't know what that calling is yet, or they know what it is, but they don't quite know how to get there, what the next step is for actually achieving it. Now, planning and having a solid strategy in place is extremely important, but there can be a fine line between planning and procrastinating. Listen up today to learn why you might not need a better plan, more knowledge, another skill, or even another podcast episode to listen to get you to the next level. It might be time to start taking action to gain more clarity than ever before. Now, first, I want to shout out to a friend and mentor of mine, Riley Meek, for coining this term. At least when I first heard it, and it was one that really struck a chord with me because, as I'll talk about here a little bit today, I've always been one that struggled with planning and trying to make everything perfect. But when I heard this, with action comes clarity, it really struck a chord because when I think back to all the times in my life where I just took action, took imperfect action, the clarity behind what to do next and what the next step might be or the next step to take, those things all fall into place once we start taking action. We can sit there and have all the perfect plans, but if you're not taking action towards that, then you're going to struggle to really find the clarity that you're looking for. Now, most guys I talk to, they tell me they struggle with finding clarity in different areas. It can be in your career, wondering what the dream job is, what work do you really want to be doing, what's the next career step to take, what's is it another certification, is it another job, is it starting a business. This can be for a lot of guys, it's in fitness. What's the best eating style for me, what workout should I be doing, how often should I be lifting weights, doing cardio, doing these different things. There's a lot of overwhelm around that, and even just in what to do next in life, in our relationships, in our personal lives, what hobby to take on, what to read, what to do to better our relationships, our friendships, our marriage. Those things are all real struggles that come up, and they're things that don't have easy answers always behind them. But because these things are big things that we're trying to do and we're trying to take hold of, it's easy for a lot of guys to get overwhelmed. But with overwhelm, this leads to procrastination. Now, I know it's a daunting task to try and find more clarity on the key areas of your life when we talk things spiritually, mentally, emotionally, in your relationships, with your physical health, with your finances or your career. These things are big things that we're trying to take hold of and take control of. So it's easy for overwhelm to set in. That's totally normal. But think of the last time that you had a big project to work on, or you set out to achieve something far off. This could be a big work project. It could be a fitness goal or something. When you've had a deadline, I bet everything probably fell into place because with deadlines, it promotes action. And with action, it promotes the clarity that's needed next. You just start taking the next step because you know it needs to get done. But when you have something important to do, if there's no deadline associated with it, the natural tendency is going to be to procrastinate, which creates even more overwhelm because you probably beat yourself up because you procrastinate another day. You didn't get done what you needed to, and that created more overwhelm. And then that overwhelm created more procrastination. And guys, I know this is a vicious cycle to break through, but action is the key to breaking through that. Now, the reason this is so important, guys, the reason this is extremely important is because the things that matter most in your life don't always have deadlines. And I should probably say they usually don't have deadlines. If you think about it, whether it's getting in shape, finding your dream job, gaining time or financial freedom, these things are not dependent on getting it done next month or even at the end of the year. If you don't set deadlines for yourself, if you don't have deadlines around these things that no one would argue is extremely important, getting in better shape, taking control of your time, your finances, your relationships, these things are extremely important, but they don't require action. There's no pressure until something extreme happens, until we get sick, until something happens with our health, there's no pressure to get healthy. No one's holding you to that. If you're not holding that standard for yourself, no one else is going to hold you to that. But if you find yourself in this situation where you're like, yeah, I kind of have been putting my health off for months or for years now. I probably should start that business, that business idea that I've always wanted to. Don't beat yourself up if this is you. This is common and this is normal. But most importantly, this is going to require action, not just intention, but action to get to where you want to be across any of these areas. And this can be applied to all those areas of your life, those key foundations that we talked about. Now, like I said, guys, I can relate because my natural bias has always been towards planning, which in hindsight is probably just glorified procrastination. I can't tell you how many in our business, how many launches, how many products, how many new service offerings, and so many other things we launched early on. And even still today, this still happens today, that we think are going to be perfect, that we think everyone's going to love, that everyone's going to find so much value in, that we're going to be able to help so many people. And we can spend days, weeks, or even months planning these things out. Yet when launch date comes, there are plenty of times where we heard crickets, silence. We spent months planning for these things. We launched it. No one was interested. That's a hard pill to swallow. And there's lots of ways we can be bitter about it. We can think, oh, well, what did I do wrong? Or how could we have planned better? That's my natural tendency to say, well, how could we have, planned better for this so that this didn't happen? When in reality, what I've found over the years, and this has been a hard lesson for me to learn, is that the times where we roll things out fast, where we get feedback quickly from our clients, and then we make those tweaks with continued action and continued feedback from others and from ourselves, this always ends up better. Now, instead of thinking to what could I do to plan better, my thought process should have been, what can I do to take action quicker? What can I do to just get this out there and see what people think of it? Now, this can be the same in work or business, but it also relates to health and fitness. Think about when you're trying to get in shape. And I'm not speaking directly at you, but I'm sure we know someone who, when trying to get in shape, started planning out the perfect workout routine, researching all the best diets, downloading the right apps on your phone. You go out, you buy an Apple Watch or a Whoop Band to, you really want to track your sleep and your steps and everything. You research the best gyms in your area. You're buying new shoes and workout clothes. None of these things are necessary to get in better shape. They're not necessary. Some of these things might be helpful, but they're not necessary. And I know this is an extreme example, but I can't tell you how many people I talk to that have spent more time planning to get in shape than simply taking imperfect action and just getting started with it without having all the answers yet. Now, guys, if you feel like you ever struggle with just taking action, if you find yourself ever procrastinating towards, especially in these areas, towards these things that matter the most, our health, our relationships, our mindset, our emotions, our finances, our business, guys, all these things are extremely important, but we need more urgency behind them. We can't just wait for these things to magically fall into place. We have to go out and get it. And if you guys can relate with this, I want to talk about 5 strategies here today to help you take action to find more clarity in your life across some of these different areas. First thing, get organized, or what I like to call sharpening the axe. Now, this might seem a little counterintuitive because we're talking all about take action. And then we talk about, well, get organized. But I want to clear this up because blind action is not the answer either. You can't just start taking action and hope for everything to fall into place either. You need to really guide your vision, guide your focus. Now, there is definitely a time to organize and to plan, but on the other side, it probably requires much less time than you actually think. Instead of trying to get the maximum amount of things you need, instead of trying to get all the answers you need to get started, think about trying to get the minimum amount of info you need. To take a shortcut, reach out and get help from a friend who's done it before or a coach that can help you in this. Now, perfect example of this is this very podcast that you're listening to. Now, when I first started it back in May of 2020 now, I knew some friends that were doing podcasts. I reached out to a few of them, a few people that I respect, that I trust, and just asked them any feedback they had from doing it, any advice they had, what equipment they're using, the logistical questions like that. I reached out to them and I got a few different answers back, but I gathered those answers and I just took some of the common answers that were across the board for the people that I talked to. And then I ordered the equipment. I started planning out those things that they said, hey, these are the things you need to do to get started. These other things would have been nice, but these are the things you need. And I had started the Men Made for More podcast within a week of doing research on it. We had our first episodes out, and I started with the minimum. Believe me, guys, this was far from perfect, and it's still far from perfect. I know that as well. We're always trying to improve it, but if I wait for it to be perfect, there wouldn't even be episode 1 right now. And although this is far from perfect, it's also far from my natural tendencies of what I want it to be. I would prefer things to really be planned out, to have it perfect, and not want to launch something imperfect. And why is that, guys? It's because we fear rejection. We fear putting something out there. And what if people don't listen to it? What if it's not good? But this podcast you're listening to today is a result of just getting started and figuring out the rest along the way. Second strategy here, guys, take action while you plan. In the fitness example I used earlier, where you're doing all the research, that's okay, especially if you're planning on investing in a big purchase like training or coaching. Those investments can add up, and it's definitely okay to do your research. But action should occur in addition to your planning, not just when the planning is done. It should occur in addition to your planning, not when the planning is done. So in that example, if you're researching gyms and trainers in the area, you can still take a daily walk or do 50 push-ups and start cleaning up some of your diet. It's never an all or nothing thing. You don't have to wait for the whole plan to be laid out before you start taking action. Third strategy, start small. And I mean really small, but just get started. Action is a habit that can be strengthened. It's not a genetic thing. We're not genetically prone to procrastinate, or some aren't better at just taking action. It's a habit that can be strengthened. But as with any habit, it's important to start smaller than you think. Don't think of how much you can do in a single day, but rather how much you can do over the course of this month or this year. That's the kind of consistent action that will bring consistent clarity into your life. With each step, every step you take, more and more doors will open up, more and more clarity will come from it. So make sure that you're just consistently doing that and think over the long term. This has to be a broader scope than just a short-term goal. When we talk about making major change across these key areas of your life, it has to happen consistently, deliberately, and over time. And those action steps have to be every single day, guys. Fourth strategy, make sure you set a big deadline with many deadlines along the way. As I mentioned earlier, deadlines force us into action. If I don't place some kind of deadline on myself, it takes me a lot of willpower to get motivated, to drum up the energy to actually act on it. But instead, think about setting yourself a deadline for the entire thing that you're trying to accomplish, put a date on it, and then start breaking that down into manageable chunks along the way. Give yourself mini sprints, mini 90-day or 1 month or even 1 week sprints you can do to see progress, to start to see that change, because that seeing that change is going to reinforce the behaviors you're trying to work on, going to reinforce that new identity that you're trying to work towards. Now, if you guys need any more help with this, make sure to check out the recent episode I did called Goal Setting to the Now. That's Goal Setting to the Now. I think it was either a week or two ago. And that'll have much more information for you guys on how to break down your big goals into manageable action steps. So if you guys are struggling with this one specifically, make sure to go check that out, because with these deadlines comes action, and with action comes clarity. Last strategy I want to talk to you about here today: avoid perfection and learn to fail fast. You're never going to have it perfect. You'll never have all the answers before starting, but quit seeing failure as a bad thing. It's really just information you can learn from and grow through. I'm currently reading a book called The Psychology of Money, which I would highly recommend. And they had some great examples that can relate to the topic of failing fast. Now, in the book, they mentioned that the best companies and individuals out there don't necessarily have better ideas or even a higher success rate on their ideas, but they often tend to just take action quicker, knowing that it's not about capitalizing on every single opportunity, but taking enough strategic chances, or we can say that another way, taking deliberate and consistent action until they find their big breakthrough. Amazon had many failed projects and ideas before they created things like Amazon Web Services and Amazon Prime, which now I think we know how much revenue that accounts for in their company. Walt Disney had produced hundreds of hours of cartoons without any financial breakthroughs before an hour-and-a-half movie, I think we can all relate to this one, named Snow White, blew up the company, and it sparked the path that they're on today. Michael Jordan, if anyone watched the Netflix series on the Bulls, one of the great series out there, but we know how many game-winning shots he hit, but there were plenty that he missed as well. He missed plenty of game-winning shots. but he's sure not remembered for any of those. And I can tell you, he definitely did not let those missed shots keep him from taking the next one. Another sports reference, Wayne Gretzky, one of the GOATs in the hockey world, also said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Quit waiting for the perfect shot, guys. Just start taking action. You'll start gaining valuable feedback with each step forward that will give you clarity and purpose beyond what you could ever get from simply preparing. It's time to get in the game, guys. And we're going to wrap up here with our take action takeaway, something started a few episodes back and want to continue to do because, as you know, it goes right in line with this episode. I don't want this to just be something that you hear, something that gets you a little fired up, and then you go back to your day, or you find the next podcast episode and you just start listening to another podcast episode. We want to bias ourselves towards taking action. Like I said earlier, this is a habit that we need to develop. We need to foster. So I want to leave you guys with a practical thing with each episode that you can take and run with. Now think of this question. What's a big goal, a dream, a passion project you're working towards or wanting to work towards? First, identify what that thing is, then list out the top 5 things you can do today, right now, to start acting on it. These can be big, these can be small. I recommend, if you're having trouble with it, lean towards smaller things, smaller action steps. If you're having trouble writing down your top 5 or you can't think of 5 things, then this episode might be beneficial to listen to again. Don't worry about making the list perfect. Just do your best and get something down. Start with number 1 on that list and go get it done by the end of this week. Set that deadline for yourselves. Once number 1 is done, pat yourself on the back. That's a big step, guys, but keep moving forward. Keep crossing that next thing off the list. Keep taking action. And what you'll find is as you cross things off, you're going to find that you start to realize different things need to be worked on. There's different things that are more important. There's different things that will get you there faster. All these things will be revealed once you start taking action. And I guarantee you these steps will continue to become more clear once you do just that. Now imagine, guys, moving from being a man of planning or procrastination to a man with clarity and a clear purpose for what needs to get done. This is possible in not just a single area of your life, but this can be applied across all areas we talked about. This could be business and finance related. This could be in your health. This could be in your relationships, your finances, your emotional health, your mindset. Guys, these are things you can work on. You can start taking action towards and see dramatic improvements over time. It's not going to happen day one, but there's a compounding effect with this that over time, you're going to notice more and more momentum picking up. Guys, if this show struck a chord with you and something that you're personally struggling with, I would love to talk with you. I've been there, and it wasn't until personally finding coaches and mentors across key areas of my life that I started to have the accountability and the guidance I needed to level up. Most guys have the ability to do big things. They're just missing some structure to actually make it happen. Now, if that sounds like you, I'd love to talk with you. Head on over to the link in the show notes. It's menmadeformore.com/apply to request a free strategy session where we'll get on a call and I'll help you identify your biggest barriers that's keeping you from living the life you want to live. And we can talk next steps to start taking action to start living out that life that you know you can live. Guys, I appreciate you listening in. Always appreciate you guys tuning in and trying to better yourselves. Go take action on this. Don't just hear it. Don't just take it for what it is. Go take that next step, guys. Appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of this day, guys. Keep leaning towards action, and I will talk to you guys soon.